Welcome to All the Buzz, the show that everybody's talking about. That's what buzz means. People talk about it. And here's our homemade sign. ATB, baby, out of Austin, Texas. My name is John Theofanis. I'm the host of the show. I know that's a difficult Greek name. Call me John Theo, call me John. But I'm glad to be here, taking on the Goliaths of media. I showed this basketball card to Cody, my director, and I believe he got a tight shot on this image of Spud Webb, a 5'7" man trying to make it in the National Basketball Association. Spud turned out to be quite the star, and like Spud Webb, this little show plans to go out beyond the borders of this small studio into your home. And earlier I explained how one of the things that appealed to me was the interactive nature of television, and particularly the talk show. I loved Steve Allen, the guy that got the handle on the Tonight Show back in about 1960. He realized informality and playing and being irreverent was the key. And so three of the talk show geniuses that I'm using as guideposts for this program are the great Dave Letterman. David Letterman is the godfather of the modern American talk show. His sense of humor, use of irony, is what Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert all come out of. Now, a couple of other influences on me are a guy that's doing incredibly well right now, Andy Cohen. Andy's a gay man, but he's also the mogul of interactive reality television. And my wife watches his show every night. Watch What Happens Live. Tell me that title right there doesn't talk about TV. Watch, that's you, what happens live right now. So Andy Cohen has got a handle on 21st century media. And he's got people calling in and tweeting in. It happens rapidly and from many different formats. And the other one is a man that's passed away, and that you might laugh if I tell you that I feel this man is important. It's Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Fred Rogers. Well, you see, I got the cardigan sweater on, so that's part of my appreciation of Mr. Rogers. But he felt that you should never demean other people. He was a true Christian man in that regard, and he said the most important thing you're doing is you're having an interaction with one other person. That's what life was all about, he said, and apparently he practiced that in his life. So the talk show in a way symbolizes, although we like to ham it up for the camera, it's about two people talking and in a sense talking with you. So we're going to keep the interaction going today with our guest, Alex North, and we've talked a little bit about Uber with Alex. Very, very interesting.
Very interesting topic.
You seem to feel Uber's been good to you, and you've done pretty well with Uber.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that Uber's been good to me, but I mean, it's been a good experience.
Electronic to you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they were anything to me.
They're invisible, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much invisible. It's just like, it's basically just like an app you like, you use it.
yeah, I think
and it
that's
makes
really
me money.
That's what's mind-blowing. It's like Austin's wrestling.
I also drive for Lyft too, incidentally. So
that's another.
You play the two businesses, for your own benefit, and so it's not.
It's like one of those superhero movies where you're wrestling for Austin, that is, we're wrestling kind of with an invisible foe that's out there. It's huge, but it almost only exists as ether.
Essentially, I mean, you do have interactions with the people that are running it, but yeah, I mean, it is almost like an interaction with, the Oz,
The Oz behind the curtain.
Yeah, like there's this guy, behind the curtain too, but he represents the Great Oz, and you're interacting with him, and he's actually not really in charge either, and they send you all these canned responses to questions that you have. You have a question that's really specific, and their standard response on email is to send you a response that it is an answer to one of the questions that we always get, even though your question had nothing to do with the canned response. So you get those sorts of things.
Impersonal
It's very impersonal.
You know, Alex, I had a off the wall experience which I want to run by you.
Okay, run it by me.
You know, I like to stop at estate sales, garage sales.
Okay, sure.
So I go to this garage sale up in Northwest Hills, and I see a large box for $10, right?
Okay.
And I look in, and it's full of basketball cards like the one I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
And I thought, oh wow, this is like a gold mine, and these people don't realize what they have. They were mint condition cards.
Oh.
So I figured, what could I lose? You know, $10. Well, I was real excited, and I got home, and I went to these card shops, and they said to me, John, those cards have zero value. The trading card people printed so many cards in the late 80s, early 90s. They flooded the market. It is still flooded all these years later. And unless you happen to have a Michael Jordan rookie card or something like that, which interestingly had been picked out by those people that I thought were such suckers, right?
Right.
So now I actually have been having a lot of fun with these early 90s cards. And you know, that was the Michael Jordan era, and Larry Bird was there and so on. But what do you think that tells us? So I started, and now I went back to the card shop, and what I found now is they're printing limited edition sets, and they have one autograph card, let's say in a pack of 20.
Okay.
And then they have little pieces of uniforms that have been worn in games attached to the inside of the card, kind of like religious relics of the saints, you know?
Right, right.
So they're creating. They say it has it's like immediate market value.
A relic.
Yeah, it's like a relic. So what does that tell you about like mankind?
What does it tell me about mankind? Holy crap.
I know I threw that out to kind of out of left field or out back court or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's you know, it's very very interesting in the sense that if you do compare it to, you know, I'm a Catholic man myself, and if you compare it to the you know, the relics of the old days, that maybe these religious people were just, you know, good at religion. You know, they just had, it's like a great, you know, post shot. we needed a piece of them instead of a part of, you know, their bone, which is what, you know, like a relic is. You know, we're not going to go get that serious.
So get part of their.
We're going to get part of their T-shirt.
Yeah, and people like LeBron James are almost like gods, aren't they?
It.
Yeah,
then we're gonna like do it in such that it's it's manufactured.
Yeah, like with the original Saint, they might only have
put a value on it.
We can sort of find a way.
10 cents. You know.
No, they cost a lot more than 10 cents.
How much?
Oh, a pack of cards probably costs $3 or $5, or maybe $10.
That's a pack of cards. You know.
Yeah.
Like $1.
Yeah, yeah.
Like put a value on it. Like stick a piece of T-shirt on there, put a value on it.
Well, I was thinking about printing of money. You know how they say the federal government just keeps printing money.
Yeah.
And printing basketball cards had a bad ending, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm just wondering, do you think our economy is headed to a basketball card future, or what?
I hope that we have people out there that are advising the leaders and making sure that that's not, you know, what we're doing. I think the evidence is that we do have people out there that are advising the politicians properly, so that we don't have these terrible endings. Obviously, we were, you know, probably headed towards one, you know, back in the early part of this, you know,
2008,
2006, 2007, and then subsequently 2008, and so they came out of it. But I wouldn't put it past them. Eventually, it will happen, you know, in a sense that, you know, you'll have the depression to end all depressions. At some point, it has to happen. So eventually, we are going to, you know, reach that point. But so far, it seems like they got a handle on it.
Yep.
In my opinion.
I didn't mean to, you know, bring us down or anything with thought of financial collapse, but let's move onward to something I mentioned earlier, that I noticed you have healthy relationships. I'm guessing healthy.
Yeah.
You have relationships with women.
Sure.
You're
I have relationships with them.
What's your philosophy of interpersonal relationships with the opposite sex?
I mean, my philosophy is just to. I mean, it's ever evolving. I would say.
In your own life or in society or what?
In my own life. I mean, how I view my relationships and how I handle my relationships is, I'd say, ever evolving. It's probably, daunting to my people that are involved in it. To the women that are involved in my life, I guess, it's probably not, it's probably not as fun for them as it maybe.
Well, give us some insights into the Alex North approach to. You're at Starbucks or at Anderson Coffee, where I saw you the other day. You meet a really attractive woman.
That's a great idea.
Take it from there. How does it evolve? You can just use your imagination.
Use my imagination. Gosh, this one's stumping me here pretty good.
Well, think of one.
I mean, I would just take the girl out to eat, I guess, or
so you make a connection for a date to go out to dinner.
Make a connection. Take them out to eat, or do like in the past. I've been involved with people from the club, and some of the things that we used to do together would help mold our relationship. Talking about speeches and just common.
Something you have in common.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy working out, running, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, so you're a member of Gold's Gym there, right?
Yeah, so in the past I've taken girls to the gym to work out if they've expressed an interest in, doing that sort of thing. And just I like to take them golfing most of the time. If they're none of them have been golfers, but they most people.
So what's
enjoy like riding around in the car in the sun drinking beer, and I know I certainly enjoy that when my son was golfing, so I would go out with him and do that.
You figure out stuff that you would normally enjoy, and you say, why not just do it with a woman, just like I would with somebody else, see if it works.
I did that too. I mean, I think that the main part of the relationship is just interacting with them, talking with them, and getting to know a girl and letting them understand me and letting them know me. And generally, I guess it started with, the question was, what's my philosophy? And my philosophy is just basically to be more of an evolved type of man, in the sense that than I was, not more evolved than another man, but just be an evolved form of myself, where where the relationship is supposed to be enjoyable to both people, and you entertain them and try to find out what they like to do, and you try to participate in things with them that they like, and hopefully, and if it's not, something, if you can't hang with what they like if they like to do stuff that's expensive. I drive Uber, man. I ain't gonna
Can't keep up with that.
I can't keep up with some of the more expensive things. But if they like to, go out to eat, drink some beers, watch movie, watch sports.
Did you ever try the online dating?
No, I'm not interested in online dating.
Well, you're showing good instincts. They find that people do much better meeting people, much more realistic to actually see the person in real life than look at a photo online or something.
Absolutely. I mean, the internet can be very deceiving, and you can't. It can be an incredible waste of time. You can sit there and talk with somebody that you're interacting well with online, and you're seeing what their presentation of what they look like, and you're basing that on the fact that maybe you'd like to interact with them. Why not just go out and see everything you need to see? and get all the information that you need in person.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, you strike me as a confident person, good communicator. Probably.
Well,
works.
picking up girls in the Starbucks, I may be confident, but that's not.
You're not that confident?
I'm not that good.
Maybe you should get a double macchiato and see if that helps.
It's true. I did find one thing that worked really well for meeting women in a coffee shop, which was I found this dog on the street, this puppy, and it followed me home, and I was kind of stuck taking care of it because it was so persistent at following me
So
home.
now you bring it to
And it just happened to be the most adorable thing on the planet, especially at that time because it was a puppy, and I had no choice but to take it to my coffee.
Alex North is telling you women like puppies. Take that to heart.
It's not a myth or anything. I mean, it's like a gravitational force when you have a puppy in your house.
You get into that subconscious level.
People come, ladies come from across the room to encounter your puppy if you happen to have one.
See, all the buzz is the kind of show that informs and entertains. We even give you dating ideas. You're welcome for that. But Alex, you and I have something in common.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
I
shouldn't. I think I know something about your past. I grew up in New York, up in northeast,
Oh, okay.
and I know you've lived in the north, and you've spent considerable
Northwest.
time up there, right?
Sure, I grew up in the Northwest.
So in this homogenized world that we live in,
Uh-huh.
where regional accents are disappearing, and people are all acting like each other, and they know everything instantly.
Uh-huh.
Somebody said to me, "There's no more Hicks anymore." You know, in the old days, there would be Hicks out in the country that didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
Well, now even those folks know what's happening.
True.
So what was it like, or are there differences between the North and the South? In your experience, you use the what's your tag on the Instagram? Is it
Granola Yankee?
Granola Yankee? So I guess you're a little bit of a Yankee and a hippie or a earthy.
Uh-huh.
So tell us what that's all about.
Well, the Granola Yankee is just a term that one of my coworkers gave me a long time ago, when I told her, she realized that I had moved to Lubbock and got an education at Texas Tech and got a job as an accountant and that sort of thing. All that had happened, so I've been there in Texas for a while, but I told one of my coworkers that, she could see that I wasn't, didn't have that drawl or that West Texas thing going on at all, and was just curious about me, and I told her my story, and that I was from Tacoma, Washington, and she said, "You're a Granola Yankee."
Ah, cool.
And so she
Clever.
gave me that term, and I thought it was fairly descriptive of. It's a very descriptive term, essentially about how we in the Northwest are as a people. Because we're very, we do have the Yankee type of leanings. We do kind of tend to agree with the North in the sense.
Philosophically closer.
Philosophically
So
closer.
if
to
I
the
get
North.
off
but we're
the plane-
separated.
I've never been. This is a true fact. I've never been to the Northwest. What would I notice if I found myself on the streets of Seattle or Tacoma that would be different than Austin, Texas, where I've spent all this time now?
I mean, first of all, most likely it would be much darker outside because there would be clouds
Uh-huh.
and it'd probably be drizzling. Although I heard it's calmed down a little bit.
Sounds like a good film noir movie.
Yeah, that would be the first thing. I haven't been there in a very long time, so the people the people of the Northwest are kind of probably in between your northeasterner and your southerner. So people in the South are seem to really constantly try to interact with you, and
More outgoing, huh?
and, and
I agree with
smile
that.
at you and,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And you probably wouldn't see as much of that
That's true.
in the Northwest. And
You know, I have a theory about Austin, Texas. You know, this town has exploded with success, and
Uh-huh.
I think it was built kind of on a feeling of love. You know, Willie Nelson showed up in town. That was a turning point. He got what they used to say is he got the hippies and the rednecks together. To me, that's a pretty good act of love right there, right? Mixed with the creativity and the music. And then some marketing genius came up with live music capital of the world.
right.
Which, you know, I'm not into the music scene very much. I always thought that was a little bit of a stretch. You know, I know we've had a couple of great musicians come out of that town, but certainly when they came up with that phrase, it was anyway. Then Lewis Black of the Austin Chronicle came up with South by Southwest, and that's all she wrote. I mean, so the town started with love, creativity, personal expression. You know, I was one of those hippies that Willie was attracting, and
You came
I'm
out
sure
here
most.
because of Willie Nelson.
No, I was here and then heard of. I had never even heard of Willie Nelson until I got here in '73. And
Okay.
I went to the first or second picnics, July 4th picnic. That's the
Oh,
only
okay.
one I went to. But I'm sure if I talked to a bunch of people from different places, they'd say, "Oh no, that's not what explains Austin. It's the jobs, or it's the this or the that." But I believe it's very deep, but subtle, invisible things that make this town. And now this town's almost gotten out of hand. We're like the kid who became too popular.
Definitely.
So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that, except what the ethic was always warmth and friendliness. Of course, you know, you not every Texan is warm and friendly.
Yeah, people from
But-
Washington are not warm and friendly.
Nor from New York, where I'm from. You know, that's not what we're known for, right?
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, about the power of that.
The power of
I mean, the whole country has moved to the Southwest, to Houston, to Dallas.
Sure.
And I don't know, that may be the sun. People might say that's the sun.
I mean, I've always been, for me personally, I've always been torn between worlds because my mom and dad are both from New Orleans. So I always had
interesting.
a Southern sensibility
Mhm.
about things. The idea, I say like the granola Yankee that they had like these Northern types of tendencies, and that just kind of, we're getting deeply philosophical here, but that just, to me, tells you a little bit about the power of ideas and the power of politics and that sort of thing. Because in Washington, I grew up with the idea of the culture that surrounded me, and my impression of it was that was my culture,
Reality.
or whatever. And that was reality. But I always, also visited New Orleans quite a bit throughout my life, and I got a sense of where, from visiting my family, I got a sense of where these other ideas that were seemingly at odds
Mhm.
with my surrounding, and how I was being raised by the culture of my community and that sort of thing. So
Your
I
parental
would-
influence is huge, obviously, so it was kind of a counterbalance to the Northwestern physical reality.
yeah, and there's also obvious awareness, or not. In hindsight, there was an awareness between the different worlds that my mother represented from New Orleans and what my father represented.
What was the
from
two
New
different
Orleans.
worlds?
Well, my mom was kind of like a fairly aristocratic type of household that was in tune with they weren't wealthy at all or anything that sort of thing, but they were just in tune with the wealth of
Oh,
New
sure.
Orleans, and bought into the idea of New Orleans as a great city. And then my dad came from a poor family, and he was in tune with just the working class of that city, and how they interacted with the city.
That's interesting. It
And-
totally parallels my family. My mother's family was Spanish from Spain, They lived in Brooklyn, and they had some money, and her dad had great business. And my father's family, the Greek side, he was a waiter, and they lived in very humble circumstances. And so, I got both. Man, we have that in common too.
Yeah, I mean, if you compartmentalize that, I would go out into the world and I would experience the world as it was, in Tacoma, Washington, and I would have the influences of my teacher and the influences of my friends and the influences of their parents and that sort of thing. And then I would come home and, my family was somehow, slightly different. We were, also, pretty well off too, so, I had that going.
It's interesting learning about these different streams. I think you're a very accessible person, and I think that Southern mix with the Tacoma is a good offsetting,
Oh, it definitely is, because, for instance, I can be extremely outgoing and extremely, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was extremely outgoing, but I could be prompted to be loud. Yeah,
you'll be very direct if people encourage you.
And that sort of thing. That's kind of like a Southern trait.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that, but it was kind of like competing with the kind of like the Northwest trait of just being fairly quiet. And you could view it that way. You could view it as personality, that sort of thing.
Well, thanks for that. And I wanted to ask you something about. Well, I learned that you know how to hit a golf ball very well.
I can hit a golf ball. I love hitting golf balls.
And so, Alex had interesting advice for me, which somehow applies to the bigger picture.
I have a lot of advice for you.
One was quit playing. You're wasting your money.
That wasn't one of them.
No, that was. Anyway, he said to me something like,
I'll tell you one piece of advice that I would.
This is a driver
that I would give you, and since we're going out there with out there in the world, I want to give this advice to everybody. Out there. If you go out and play golf, one time and learn how hard it is, right?
Right.
And then after you learn how hard it is, go to the driving range and hit 1,000 golf balls and see if you don't get off the tee box a lot better the next time.
Okay, now along those lines, Alex, you told me, John, you should be using this club a lot less.
You should never be using that club.
This is called a driver, right?
That's a driver.
You said, forget the driver, even when you're driving.
Put that in your bag.
Now you wanted me, or you said, use this iron instead.
Well, that's not actually what I said, but what I was actually saying was, which it goes either way. He should hit the club the way that it was supposed to be hit. Okay? And so if you're not making contact with the ball on the face, funny you should mention that, is because this is the driver, and this is an old school driver. We don't even use this anymore. You know what? This is too hard for the pros to hit. This is so hard.
Very small area.
You have to hit it. You have to hit it right there. But it has screws on the face of the golf club, and what we used to say, or what people still say,
hit that one right on the screws, and that's what that means
right
there.
Cool. I like that phrase. Now, folks out there, I think you got an important message, which is make contact. Of course, we mean make contact on the golf course by using the proper club and swinging it with some practice, 1,000 swings. Make contact with other human beings, perhaps join Toastmasters like Alex and I have. Make social contact at the coffee shop, maybe bring a dog, guys, with you. And I have one more challenging question. This looks like a tool for making content, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is?
From the 1970s that my principal
Our Irish viewers will recognize this object. This is something, I think they have an Irish sport where they run around a field, and it's kind of like field hockey. It's called curling or something. Is that it? Cody, do you know?
That's what that.
I believe this is a curling stick. I was in Ireland. I love the shape of it. Looks kind of primitive. It's got a little metal there.
It's beautiful. I love it.
And so Ireland, this one's for you. You made me laugh, and I think that's one reason you're here today. I got reminded of your sense of humor.
Why do you have a picture of Robert Conrad?
Tell us the Robert Conrad story. Actually, this was a drawing done of me in Central Park, but Alex kind of burst my bubble. Tell him how you did that.
Oh, I just said, well, why is the guy's name? What was the guy's name?
Chen.
Chen.
Chen, the artist in Central Park.
And you posted on Facebook that Chen is doing this profile of me, and I said, hey, that's great. Chen is great, but why is he doing a portrait of Robert Conrad? It was a 1970s action star.
You got to laugh at it, Cody. I think he agrees with you.
It's a 1970s action star, and it just so happens to look just like Robert Conrad. It has a spot over here for the ever ready battery to be placed right here. And famously, Robert Conrad would say, "Go ahead, I dare you," inviting you to knock off the battery off his shoulder.
And on that note, go ahead, I dare you. We're going to end our first segment of All the Buzz with our guest, Alex North. Alex, this is for you.
Oh my goodness. What a great gift.
And I
That's
appreciate you being here.
fantastic. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And hope you have a good, well, we're past Valentine's Day, but hope you have a good couple of days here.
Hope you have a great year. Great show.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to it. And Cody Davis is my floor director and man of all hats and talents. Thank you for being here, Cody, and doing this. And we'll catch up with you next time for All the Buzz. This is John Theofanis saying, have a good day.